seen Prabhuji at least somewhere in your life. Those who are connected with the movement, they might have seen Prabhuji in the Krishna Balaram temple on festivals, on even on YouTube Live. You see the darshan, somewhere you might have seen Prabhuji. But many of the devotees, they don't know much about Prabhuji personally. Prabhuji is the head pujari of Shri Krishna Balaram Mandir ISKCON Vrindavan. From, I believe, more than 3 to 4 decades, Prabhuji has been serving in the temple. So we are really, really blessed and grateful to Prabhuji for giving up his valuable time today. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for joining us today.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Thank you for inviting me. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Yes.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. So, Prabhuji, we would like to begin by knowing something about your childhood and like how you met the devotees. Little in brief, Prabhuji, about your life before Krishna consciousness and all.
Fine. First of all, for my obeisances to Guru Gauranga, Srimati Radharani, Krishna and Krishna's devotees and all devotees. Gurave Gaura Chandraya, Radhikaya Tadalaya, Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya, Tad Bhaktaya Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna. Yes. So, I was born in Switzerland in 1960, actually in an aristocratic family. And so in Zurich, which is the biggest city in Switzerland, where everything is happening. The capital of Switzerland is Bern. So, but the biggest city is Zurich. So I grew up there, and I was going to kindergarten, primary school, secondary school, and I was very fond of playing football. And so I was also joining one club, and since childhood I had some attraction towards studying, reading especially, and I was also believing in God. So because actually the family members from mother's side more, they were religious, but even father's side, and so therefore, and it is natural, especially at this time, 60 years ago, then the people, they were a little more God conscious, and we had to go to church once a week, and then we had also in the school, we have a Bible class at least once a week. So in this way, the interest was there, and of course, most probably quite surely, due to Purva Samskar, previous impressions, I was very much eager to pursue the spiritual path. And next to going to school and playing soccer and playing with other children, different games, or having some fun, I was very much interested in learning more and more by reading different books of philosophers right from my actually childhood and youth. And then so then I was also so much attracted actually to India. And at that time, so the hippie movement was there. Young people used to go to India to have some spiritual experience. Many of them, they were also taking drugs, and some famous, of course, yogis were there, and famous Sita player was there, Ravi Shankar, who used to come to Europe also. So I had an attraction in the direction of the East, even also reading books from China. And so in this way, my spiritual path was starting since I was maybe 15, more seriously. And so I was meeting the devotees for the first time in 1979. I was just 19 years old. And that was actually the first Rath Yatra in Switzerland, in Zurich. And so I was able to see the devotees, meet them. I got some prasadam, and I was feeling very much attracted to them. And they had also a small restaurant in Zurich town, and 2, 3 times I was taking prasadam there, and we had some discussions with the devotees there, and I understood that something is there. And then I decided to have more of their association, and I was visiting the farm, which was also there in Switzerland, in the western part of Switzerland. And I was there for one day, and then I realized that this is actually the path I have to take. But since I was interested in going to or going towards India and staying some time in India, so I didn't join the temple at that time. And but then when I got my when I had my 20th birthday, I got some money from my parents, and which was a big amount actually, 2,000 Swiss francs. At that time was a lot. At that time, so anyhow, so with this money, then I decided to come to India. And first I was going around a little bit in Europe. And I told my parents I'm just going a little bit for traveling, fine. But then I decided to go to India. And I didn't tell my parents that I'm going to India. And so first I was going by train and hitchhiking and hoping to have some good association with persons who are also interested in spiritual life, but I was a little bit disappointed. Then I went to Greece from Italy by boat, and I saw that the young people, mostly they're interested in drugs and not so much in spiritual life. Although some were there, but not so many more interested into drugs and sense gratification. Therefore I decided to just fly to India. So from Greece, Athens, the capital, I took the airplane and landed in Mumbai. And so my idea was, India is full of sadhus, saintly people, yogis, holy rivers, holy places, sattvic environment. So, for example, Switzerland is somewhat religious, but also very materialistic, but they're very clean and very punctual. So I arrived in Mumbai, and I got a little shock because it was not so clean and sattvic as I thought. So from the airplane, I went to from the airport, I went to the train station in Mumbai, and seeing the slums on the way, and the beggars, white person begging for some money or something. And so I met one devotee at the train station. He was distributing some books, and he invited me to the Juhu temple. And I said, well, I heard about one place, Vrindavan, so I want to go to that place, because the devotees had told me about Vrindavan. I said, okay, fine, good. So he gave me a mango. First time I saw mango, because at that time in the West, they didn't have any mangoes. Not so many imported fruits except bananas. So somehow I opened the mango, I ate the mango, and my hands and my face full of mango. But I relished the mango, I liked it. And then, so I went to the ticket counter asking, for the ticket to Delhi. They asked me, first class, second class, or unreserved. So I asked for the price. I said, because in the West, first class or second class is almost the same, and it's all unreserved. You just buy the ticket and you sit there, at least at my time. So I took cheap and best, unreserved ticket to Delhi from Mumbai. So I sat in the compartment, and it was a little crowded. But seeing a young white person, they gave me a seat. But it was very noisy and a little dirty also, the compartment. According to my understanding. And from the west, from Switzerland, which is extremely clean. And so for a few stations, so a few hours, I was in that train, and then the army came in, and they just pushed the people away, and it was just super crowded. And I decided, well, I better upgrade my ticket. I went to the first class compartment and got a first class ticket, and then rested in peace. And by the way, it was beginning of May. So Switzerland, the climate is more fresh, as cold in the winter, and in the summer it may be 32, 33, 34 at that time. So Monday was very humid and hot. When I came out from the airplane, it was like entering a sauna. So anyhow, I managed, because I was just 20 years old. It was a kind of adventure. So I landed in, so I reached Delhi, and same thing, not so clean and crowded. I heard there was a temple. I went there to get prasad, but the devotees at that place, they were not so accommodating and nice. And I didn't speak English. It was a small place, Lajpat Nagar. Anyhow, then I went to Vrindavan. And so just with the local bus, the bus from Delhi to Vrindavan, and then the conductor asked me, where you want to go? I said, well, there's one temple, ISKCON temple. And they said, oh yeah, Angrez Mandir, where the English people are. I said, yeah. And then I went there. I stopped right in front of the temple. I entered, and so I went to the guest house, and then got the room there. And so I had darshan. And then some devotees, they asked me, okay, where are you from? So I explained to them, and so that was the second day. I had long hair, but I'm wearing one longi and one kurta, one t-shirt. And then they suggested, well, because I was interested and I was speaking to the devotees, some of the Western devotees were there also. And so then they asked me, well, if you're interested, you can stay in the ashram. It's free. You can stay free. I said, wow, really? That's great. And free food also, free. Prasadam, sanctified food. Wow, great, free. Yeah, yes, you just have to follow the program, and you do a little seva. So it sounds great. Okay, sure, I'm ready. But you have to do one thing. They showed me my hair. This year you have to shave up your hair. I said, okay, fine, no problem. I shaved up, and I was in the ashram. Next day, Mangalatik. They gave me a dhoti and kurta, and the next day I was there for Mangalatik. They gave me a bead bag. Okay, you have to chant. They show me how to chant. Okay, and then they show me 108 times is one round, 16 rounds you have to chant. Okay, no problem. Immediately the first day I chanted 16 rounds. I never stopped since then. I doubled it. So very quickly I learned all the songs, Gurvashtakam and so on, and Vibhavari Shesha, they were already chanting, and Shikshashtakam very quickly so learned. And because I felt I should learn the language. So next opportunity, when I went to Delhi, I got one book, Learn Hindi in 1 month. So I got the book, and then I got to learn. I was going through the book, the grammar and vocabulary, and I got 2 books, one in English, one in Hindi. Beyond Birth and Death, Janma or Mrityu Se Pare. I was reading English, Hindi, reading English, Hindi. So I still remember something from the first page. Prabhupada was explaining there. that the first thing we have to understand in spiritual life is that we are not this body, we are spirit soul. But that is not so easy to realize. So it is still there in my memory on the first page. So and then, yeah. And then I was there in the Bhakta program. But then I had to get a new visa because I got a visa on entry. Swiss passport, easy to get visa anywhere, just by entry, 1 month visa. But then I had to go to Nepal to get a new visa. So I applied for a 3-month visa. At the same time, because I wanted to stay longer, I applied for a 1-year visa also. And so I came in with a 3-month visa and stayed for 3 months and went back and I got the entry visa of 1 year. And so that was the start of my journey, of my spiritual journey in this lifetime. Yes,
Right.
okay.
Actually, I just, when you were describing all the incidents, Prabhuji, so I just got, just into it, and everything was coming in front. It was just like very similar to Radhanath Maharaj's journey home. He also came just from the West, and just so beautiful, like how you went to Mumbai, then from Mumbai to Delhi to Vrindavan. It's just so amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so
And
Prabhuji,
one more thing I wanted to say, that actually, because I was in an aristocratic family, my father was actually chief of the reception in one of the most famous hotels in the center of Zurich, and my grandfather was manager, the president of one insurance company in the capital Bern. So they asked me to take up something also which is respected. So they asked me to take apprenticeship in the bank. So I was doing that for 3 years. Union Bank of Switzerland, famous bank, where the Indians also keep the black money. And also I was playing soccer. I could have played in a professional team and also in the junior national team, under 19. But then I left everything. So just wanted to add that. In the search for the absolute truth, in the search for Krishna. Okay, yes.
So, Prabhuji, which year was this when you arrived in Vrindavan?
1980, 46 years ago.
Jai.
Yes.
Okay, so Prabhuji, because in general, many of the devotees, they have this conception or a general conception that Yoga Grace is a disciple of Srila Prabhupada, but they don't know exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. So Prabhuji, so I would just want to know then, how did Yoga Grace carried further and got connected with Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Maharaj, and how you took initiation and how you continued your spiritual journey?
Yes. Actually, of course, we all take shelter of Srila Prabhupada, and is the Shiksha Guru for all the devotees. And yes, but when I came to Vrindavan 1980, so then actually at that time Bhavananda, one of Prabhupada's disciples, he was initiating Guru, so I took initiation from him 1980 after Balaram Purnima. And then next Guru Purnima 1981, I got second initiation. But but later on he had some difficulties, and then actually I met His Holiness Bhaktivedanta Namaraj by the will of Providence, and then I took shelter of him, and so yes, and that actually helped me very much in a difficult situation when Bhavananda left, and I learned so much. Of course, some difficulties were there. Because some differences with some of the devotees in ISKCON, but these things are happening. But basically, it's the same philosophy, and Gaudiya Math and ISKCON. There's, of course, ultimately from the spiritual point of view, there's no difference. But from the point of view of institution, some slight difference may be there in regards of the morning program or which books to read first, but it is the same, exactly the same philosophy and understanding. And so that we have to understand.
Hare
I believe just like you may have different families.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes.
There is some network issue.
Okay. Hare Krishna. You can hear me?
Hare Hare.
You can hear me? Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Some network problem. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, you can hear me? Hare Krishna.
network.
Our network. Okay, Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, now it's okay. Now,
Okay,
it's,
fine.
now it's okay, Prabhuji.
Okay.
Prabhuji, actually the network got disconnected in between.
Okay.
Yeah,
fine.
now it's fine, Prabhuji. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so Prabhuji, we can just start back from that. I'll just repeat the question and you can answer, Prabhuji.
Uh-huh. Yes, okay, fine. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so Prabhuji, in the year 1980, when you arrived to Vrindavan, so actually majority of this devotees, they have this conception that Your Grace is a disciple of Srila Prabhupada.
Yes.
But they don't know that Your Grace has been initiated from Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayana Goswami Maharaj. Prabhuji, want to know a little bit on this, like how did you carry your journey further and got connected with Narayana Maharaj, and how you continued your spiritual journey further, Prabhuji?
Yes. So when I came in 1980, so then actually, so Prabhupada had already left, but of course we know that Prabhupada is in the center of our society. And so therefore we may say we are all 6 disciples of Srila Prabhupada. But then we should take Diksha from a living guru, a bona fide guru from our Sampradaya, of course from ISKCON, preferably or mostly. And so I took initiation from one of Prabhupada's first 11 disciples, 11 gurus, Bhavananda Maharaj at that time, in 1980 on Balaram Purnima. I was just 3 months in the movement. And the next Guru Purnima in Mayapur, I took Brahman initiation, second initiation. So it was going on fine. And and yeah, he was definitely, he was a good manager and he was a kind person. Bhavananda, and some, of course, knowledgeable there also in the scriptures, but then some weakness was there and some difficulties he had in his spiritual life. And so 1986, I believe, he was asked to step down from his position and as guru and even as a sannyasi. And so then at that time I was praying to Prabhupada, to Mahaprabhu, to Krishna, how to proceed. Actually I was, so I joined in Vrindavan, but in 83 my health was not so good. I went back to Switzerland. I stayed there in the temple, in Zurich temple for 1 year, and then I went for a visit to New York, because at that time Bhavananda was there, in Schermerhorn Street, Brooklyn Temple, and then I was serving the deities there, Sri Radha Govinda. And so then in 86, when he had to step down, then I was praying to Guru Gauranga, Prabhupada, Krishna, to guide me to another spiritual master. And so then I was planning to go back to Vrindavan. All the devotees wanted me to stay because I had learned already Hindi, as explained very quickly. In 2-3 months I was able to read after 2 months, and then slowly I picked up the speaking also. Within 4-5 months and I was speaking Hindi. And so therefore in New York they wanted somebody to preach to the Indian community, which I did. And I was Pujari also for Radha Govinda. Morning seva on the altar and evening going for preaching. And doing some also helping with the Bhakta program there. And so then after after Bhavananda left, and I was planning to go back to Vrindavan. And so actually in New York, some devotees, they were having some cassettes of recording of Narayan Maharaj singing. So sometimes we say love by first sight. So we may also say love by first time hearing. I was immediately attracted and I asked the devotee, who is that singing? Then he told me Narayan Maharaj from Gaudiya Math, from Mathura, where Prabhupada took sannyas. I said, okay, fine. And actually, so they were copying the recordings. I also got one cassette. And then, so actually in 1987 on Balaram Purnima, I woke up and early morning, and actually I had a vision of Krishna Balaram before my eyes. Krishna Balaram from Vrindavan temple. Then I understood that actually now by their mercy I will be able to go back to Vrindavan. And although I had responsibilities there, but I was requesting the management, and finally they agreed, okay, you can go. And they had a welfare party for me and with some nice prasad. And so I went back to Vrindavan in 1987. And actually I reached just a few days after Radhashtami, before Kartik. And something quite interesting happened, which is almost unbelievable. So I had, of course, I arrived in Delhi airport, and I was brahmachari, simple living, high thinking. So some devotees, they gave me one whole suitcase for some devotees in Vrindavan. So I had my suitcase and this suitcase and my shoulder bag. And I thought, well, taxi, and how much is the taxi? I inquired. I thought it's too expensive. Let me just go by bus to train station, and they can train to Mathura, and then by Tonga, that is, you know Tonga, that is a carriage drawn by the horse. Tonga.
Yes.
So now not seen anymore, but that time. So I thought, well, let me go for that. So, because it was much cheaper. So I took the bus and the train. I arrived in Mathura. I went down with the two suitcases, and the train started moving. Oi, hoi, hoi, I left my shoulder bag in the train. So I had, because I had been already in India for 3 years, so I knew the situation here. You have to be careful of your luggage. I thought if I jump on the train, then somebody may just take the luggage. So I thought that is not so nice, and this is for, for one devotee also. I thought anyway, let my bag go. But inside there was my passport, and some money was there. So I thought anyhow, what to do. Because also a little risky, the train was running, to jump on the train, and I thought leave it. I went back to Vrindavan, arrived there in the guest house, stayed there. And the next day some devotees asked me, hey, you want to go to Varshana for darshan? I said, yeah, sure. And I thought, and next day I will go to Delhi to get a new passport, because I still had some money also separately. So I went to Varshana, I come back, and the reception, the person told me, one man is waiting for you from Gwalior. I said, what? From Gwalior? I don't know anybody. And I just came from America. And I see the person, and then he showed me my bag, and he said I was in the same compartment. I recognized, and you forgot your bag. I said, wow, with all the money, my passport was there. So very rare. So then I said, what can I do for you? Then he said, well, after Kartik, my daughter's marriage is there, so if you can help with that. So I gave me all my rupees which I had. Maybe I changed some money, the dollars, and I gave him maybe 6,000-7,000 rupees. That was 45 years ago, was something at least. But everything was there. I had still a few $100, my passport, so I was relieved. So I was happy and he was happy. Jai Radheshyam, so Radha and His mercy. Anyhow, and then so I was back in Vrindavan. And all the devotees actually had asked me also to become head pujari when I was in New York for Brindavan, because they had some difficulty with the head pujari, and he actually left and they had somebody else, but they thought I could do the seva, because some devotees from Switzerland and from New York who knew me, they had shifted to Brindavan, then they felt I should take up the seva. But then I was thinking, no, head pujari means headache. Head pujari means headache. So let me just remain simple brahmachari. And then I was in the Gurukul, there as ashram teacher. And but then after 1 year, they asked me again, and then I felt also it was not so easy with the Gurukul boys, pulling your legs, fighting with each other, pulling the teacher's leg. So I thought, let me just be pujari. And actually my health was not so good also, and they asked me if I want to get married, because my wife was there as a teacher, and they had a rule that no single women should be there. I was not really so interested, but at the same time I thought, well, then I can stay here, at least in India. And so my health is not so good, so that might be fine. And so then the arrangement was made, and then I got married also, actually in 89. And then 1990, so I became pujari for the deities here. And actually, yes, also first time I met Narayan Maharaj was 1987. So he had given class during Prabhupada's disappearance day also, which I heard. And then it is on Purnima Tithi, Gopal Krishna Maharaj was invited by Narayan Maharaj. He had a good relationship to come to Rup Sanatan Gaudiya Math. They were celebrating the first year of installation of the deities there. So I went there and then had my first exchange with Narayan Maharaj, personal also, after the program, and I offered my obeisances, and then I thought I should give him a donation. I gave him 300 rupees, and then he said, "Why are you giving me this?" I said, "Because I think you're a pure devotee." I said, "No, I'm not a pure devotee, you're a pure devotee." So I was very much captured by his humility, because already that time he was well known as in ISKCON, and especially amongst the Brijabasis also. So that was my beginning. So yes, so that was the situation. But I always stayed in ISKCON and served ISKCON, and I never propagated about Narayan Maharaj or Gaudiya Math. And I just kept it for myself, my exchange. And later on, actually, I took initiation. It's also in a transcendental way. So, but I always kept it quiet and just did my seva, and I had a good relationship with all the devotees, because by nature I just keep for myself and just do my seva. And actually, so when they asked me to become pujari, so that was also a quite interesting thing. There was one devotee, I think maybe you must have heard about him also, Indra Prabhu. So
yes,
we had a very good relationship also. I met him first time in New York. He was there doing kirtan. So immediately we had a good relationship. And but then he came to Vrindavan 1986 for the 500th anniversary of Mahaprabhu's appearance. And so then we met again when I came back also, and our relationship continued. And so he was addressing the deities, because at one point there was a strike by the pujaris. They didn't agree with the head pujari at that time. They asked him to address the deities, so he addressed the deities for a few months, maybe 6 months or 8 months. And so he was addressing the deities very beautifully. So then in May, one day, we went for darshan, and so looking, the devotees coming, Indra Prabhu had a big smile. I was thinking, oh, what's happening here? He has a big smile today. He opened the curtain, and Jai Sri Radha Shyam Sundar. And then we see there's no flute in Krishna's hands. Where is the flute? And usually when we open the curtain, the peacock feather and the flute must always be there. But it was in Radharani's hand. So I liked it.
Okay.
But the senior devotees, they were not happy with that, and they chastised him like anything. Now you cannot do that. So then he asked me to take care of the seva, of dressing the deities, and I became pujari and resigned in the Gurukul happily and became pujari. So, and then 1992, so they asked me to become head pujari, the management. So with the blessings of all the devotees.
Okay.
So I was serving the deities since 1990 and serving as head pujari since 1992. And actually in 1992 then I took initiation also from Narayan Maharaj. Because one time I went to the bathroom, I lost my beads, which I have gotten from Bhavananda. Also, actually, it was there outside the bathroom, and somebody just took them. So then I bought new Japamala and went to see Narayan Maharaj and asked him if he can chant, and then so because I had seen him a few times and all I was looking in ISKCON for initiation, but then I was not so much convinced. I liked Bhakti Chud Maharaj and Gogovinda Maharaj, but then somehow, because I was in Vrindavan and they were elsewhere, so I didn't think it was practical. But then meeting Narayan Maharaj, then I was inspired, and so then he actually, when I gave the Japamala, he said, I can take care of your spiritual life if you're accepting me. But then they cautioned me also just, keep a low profile, because ISKCON and Gaudiya Math is different institutions. And so in brief, and so I had many wonderful experiences and I learned so much. But always I stick to Prabhupada's instructions, and even my preaching, usually I speak and encourage the new devotees to read Upadeshamrita, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Bhagavad Gita, as was taught by Prabhupada, and it is there in Bhakti Shastri. But I read Prabhupada's books many times, maybe 15 times the Bhagavad Gita, from beginning to end. And then, in English, and one time maybe in Hindi. But the Bhagavatam I read 6 times in English, the whole Bhagavatam, and 2 times in Hindi. And Chaitanya Charitamrita also I read maybe 12 times. The whole Chaitanya Charitamrita, my favorite book. And 2 times in Hindi.
Okay.
And by the way, I learned Bengali also, so I read the Bengali also.
Okay.
And then, so I read all of Prabhupada's books many times. But then, as Prabhupada said also, that we may read the books of the Acharyas, like is writing in one place. Anyone wants to know about Bhagavan, Bhakti and Bhakta must read this book, Brihad Bhagavatamrita by Sanatana Goswami. So I read this book. I read most of the books of our previous Acharyas, just to get some more understanding, deeper understanding. Of course, everything is there in Prabhupada's books, in short. But Krishna is unlimited. That is unlimited knowledge, and you get so much details by reading the Acharya's books. Like you read the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, and but then in regards to the Madhurya Bhav, so it is there in short, but then if you want to learn more, then Rupa Goswami has revealed Ujjwal Nilamani. So of course that is not to be read unless you have read all of Prabhupada's books and you have the blessings of the Spiritual Master. But those who are scholarly and who have been a long time in the movement, they should be scholars. In the Goswami's books, in one purport, Prabhupada is writing the first canto, one of the first chapters. Anyone who dares to sit on the Vyasasana should know the 6 philosophers of Bharatvarsha and their philosophies. Vyasadeva, Jainini Rishi, And then Kapil Dev, Patanjali, Gautam, and Kanara, and their philosophies. So you have to study the Acharya's books and even some of these philosophers. Then you can preach to the intelligent class of people. So which I did, and so I'm quite conversant with all these books. And of course, I concentrate on the Bhakti Shastras, and and I know the six philosophers, I know their philosophies, and I have read something, but I never went into all the details because I don't think so it's completely necessary for me, because I'm not preaching to the scholars of India, which is not easy unless you know Sanskrit very well. And there's better not to try to debate with them, or with the Mayavadis. Stay away from the Mayavadis. Unless you're Uttamadikari and you know Sanskrit like anything. But Mayavadi Bhashya Sunile Sarvahaya Nash, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has warned that we should not hear the Shankaracharya's Bhashya, that means the Tika, the commentary on the Vedanta Sutra, because you may be bewildered unless you are highly advanced. So, but otherwise we should know. I read the Satsandarbhas by Jiva Goswami. So that is all helpful for preaching to intelligent class of men, scholarly persons. So that is helpful. But yeah, for the simple devotees, Prabhupada's books is enough. More than enough. And many devotees, they hardly read the read. I mean, many times as devotees. So you read the Bhagavatam, even they are 10, 15, 20 years in the movement. They didn't even manage to read one time the Bhagavatam and the CC. So I always encourage devotees to first study these books. But if one is scholarly, I just met recently one devotee, also a young devotee, maybe now 29. He also already read 3 times the Bhagavatam and 2 times the CC. And then, so he read all of Prabhupada's books, and now, with the blessings of his guru, and he was taking some guidance from me also, then he's reading some of the Acharya's books, which is fine. The scholars, they can do that. So, and Prabhupada, so he has mentioned, in Gauranga Bulite Habe Pulaka Sharira's famous song by Narottam Das Thakur. There also the purport is writing, so we should study the books of the Acharyas. So, if one is scholarly and one has read all of Prabhupada's books and knows the philosophy properly and has Prabhupada's mood, then for additional information, then he may read these books. So that is my understanding. So Guru Sadhu Shastra. Prabhupada is everything for us, but sometimes then we have to refer to the sadhus and Shastra. Not Prabhupada said. Yes, Prabhupada said, but then if sometimes there's some disagreement, then you see the sadhus and Shastra, like that. So, anyhow, if you have...
Very, very beautifully explained, Prabhuji. And it is very important, because many times we just become very much rigid and skeptical that we'll not go, we just have to read just Prabhupada books. But Prabhupada has mentioned many times in his purports that you need to read the Purvacharyas. Prabhupada said at a place that you have to read the Purvacharyas, but not by stepping your foot on my head. You complete me, and then you just read the Purvacharyas.
Yes. And we are known as Rupanuga Vaishnavas. We are known as Rupanuga Vaishnavas. Following Prabhupada and following Rupa Goswami, so we should know his books. Of course, Upadeshamrita is there, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. But for those who are scholarly, the leaders, the sannyasis or Guru Jan, they should be well versed in the scriptures.
Yes, Prabhuji. So, Prabhuji, one thing I just wanted to get into a little more detail about Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Maharaj. Many of the devotees, they don't know much about Maharaj. They might have seen some clips on YouTube, some videos on YouTube. But majorly the current youth devotees, they don't know who exactly His Holiness was. many of the devotees know that Maharaj was present in the sannyas ceremony of Prabhupada. He did
Right.
the yagna when
Yes.
Srila Prabhupada got sannyas.
Yes.
But they don't know about him and how great of a Vaishnava he was, how great a scholar he was, and how great of a devotee he was. So can you just describe us a few more about Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Maharaj?
Yes, yes. So, Srila Bhaktivinoda Narayan Maharaj, he's actually, in this world, he appeared in Bihar, and in one Buxa district, Tiwaripur, in a family of Vaishnavas from the Ramanuja Sampradaya, Tiwari. The surname was also Tiwari. And so his childhood name was Narayan also. And then, so he grew up worshipping the Lord, hearing Ramayana and the scriptures. And he was chanting the Mahamantra, but first chanting Hare Ram, and then Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. And then so they were the family. So they were Brahmanas, and so he grew up in that spiritual environment, and he was very intelligent. So he was very good in school. He was a topper, and he was good in sports. In the running, he was first, always in running. He was playing football also. Because of that, because he was good in sports and in the school, so he got a good job in the police department. And so he was chanting 64 rounds, but first chanting Hare Ram and then Hare Krishna. And then one time, the disciples of Bhakti Pragyan Kesha Maharaj, the sannyas guru of Srila Prabhupada, they went there for preaching in his village, and so he heard a katha, and then he was attracted. And he was staying there maybe for 1 week, and then decided, I want to go and meet the Guru Maharaj, their Guru Maharaj, Bhakti Pragyan Kesha Maharaj. So then one time he just left the family. Actually, he had taken leave, although he had a good post in the police, and so the police inspector, he was a little bit disappointed that he wants to take leave. But then anyhow, what he could do, and then he went and he joined the Gaudiya Math. And actually he was married and he had 2 daughters. But at the age of 26, then he went to Gaudiya Math in Navadvip, and then he actually decided to stay there. But of course, the family members, they were taking care of the wife and the daughters. And then he was fully dedicated in the service of his spiritual master, and he got quickly first and second initiation. And due to his being extremely qualified, and of course chanting 64 rounds after initiation, because he was already used before initiation, 64 rounds. Prabhupada also told his disciples to chant 64 rounds at one point. A few days they did, and then they came back, Prabhupada, not possible, 64 rounds. Okay, 32. After a few days they came back, Prabhupada, we cannot chant and do seva also, then 16 and not less. So right from the beginning he was chanting 64 rounds, and he was studying the books of the acharyas. Under the guidance of his spiritual master. And so then 1959, so he took sannyasa before Prabhupada. He was already sannyasi with 2 brothers. He was the first sannyasis of Bhakti Pragyan Kesha Maharaj. And so he was just 48. So before, he was maybe 40 when he took sannyas or something like that. So when he was 48, so Prabhupada took sannyas in 1959 in Keshavji Gaudiya Math, and he was the priest. He was doing the yagya for Prabhupada, and he made the danda for Prabhupada. And then they had actually, of course, a good relationship. And Prabhupada actually, after taking sannyas, he immediately went to Agra for preaching. And actually because Bhakti Pragyan Kesha Maharaj, because his Guru Maharaj wanted him to speak in English language. Because he was in a Scottish school and he knew English, so Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada, as we know, he told him to preach in English language. So when he took sannyas, his Guru Maharaj, his sannyas Guru Bhakti Pragyan Kesha Maharaj asked him to speak after he had spoken, and he said, because my Guru Maharaj wants me to speak in English to the English-speaking people, so I'm speaking in English. All the only Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj, Narayan Maharaj, and 2-3 devotees, and one Babaji, Akinchan Das Babaji, Prabhupada's very dear friend. They spoke English, everyone has Hindi. And right after the sannyas ceremony, he went to Agra for some preaching. I stayed next to the Taj Mahal, because he knew Taj Mahal, the Westerners are going there also. He was preaching there. And interestingly enough, after I took initiation in 1980, I went for Sankirtan. I stayed at the same place where Prabhupada stayed, at the same ashram, distributing books. So he was staying there and preaching Prabhupada, and he made 2 disciples, I believe. One I met also later on, when I was there. So in this way, so Prabhupada then preached, and then he was in Jhansi and so on. And then he went to America. When he was in America, many times he asked Narayan Maharaj to send him some things, some katas, mridanga, deities, Radha Krishna deities. He said Radha Krishna deities, the small Radha Krishna deities which are there in New York. These were sent by Narayan Maharaj. And I had the opportunity when I went to New York, I was serving them for almost 3 years.
Okay.
Yeah. So this way they had this relationship, a good relationship. Of course, and then so for Narayan Maharaj, Prabhupada was the Shiksha Guru. And there were many letters, I've seen the many letters of exchange between Prabhupada and Narayan Maharaj. And and then also, of course, as we know, then and even Prabhupada, before he went to America, so when he was in Radha Damodar, many times Narayan Maharaj used to visit him, and together they were cooking, because Prabhupada was not eating the Mahaprasad from there, but he was cooking himself, and many times Narayan Maharaj was coming there and they were talking together. He was making chapatis, helping Prabhupada. And when Prabhupada saw, when he came also, of course, back, and then especially, so just before he left, he had asked Narayan Maharaj to help him also by doing the Samadhi ceremony for Prabhupada. So which is also significant. The last rites, as we know in India, is usually done by the eldest son. So Prabhupada didn't ask any of his disciples to do, but he asked Narayan Maharaj to do the last rites. So which is significant. And then he had told also Narayan Maharaj, you please take care of my disciples after I leave. Try to help them. And also one more thing, one time he asked him, just like Bhaktisiddhanta, before he left, maybe 1 month before, he asked Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj to chant Sirupa Manjari Pada Se Mora Sahampada Se Mor Bhajana Pujana. So we are Rupanuga Vaishnavas, we follow Rupa Goswami as Sadaka. But then in Siddhavasta, when we are more advanced on the spiritual plane, then we embrace Braj Bhakti, spontaneous devotional service, following the Brij Basis, that is known as Raganuga Bhakti. Sometimes devotees, they don't like to hear the word Raganuga Bhakti, although it is there, and the nectar of devotion, and the Chaitanya Chaitamrita. And if you want to go to Braj, you have to perform the Raganuga Bhakti. So then, so indicating we should take shelter of Rupa Manjari, who is very dear, maidservant, friend, Gopi. Manjaris are known as Nitya Saki or Prana Saki, 5 kinds of Sakis. So Prabhupada, Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada told Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj just to establish this fact. Everyone understands. Although he was not a great singer, Sridhar Maharaj, but he knew the philosophy and he was trusted by Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada. Of course, then they had some problem in Gaudiya Mata after he left. But still, it doesn't mean the Gaudiya Mata is completely finished. Still, they are preaching also, and we should respect. Similarly, after Prabhupada left, there was also quite some problems, and even now there are many problems there. But still, wonderful devotees are there in ISKCON and Gaudiya Mata. And other devotees are there who are not so mature in ISKCON and Gaudiya Mata. and therefore the problems are there because of immaturity. So in this way, and then so the point was that Prabhupada asked Narayan Maharaj 1 month before he left to sing the same song. Si Rupa Manjari Pada Se Mora Sampada Se Mora Bhajana Pujana. So in this way, and then so he put Prabhupada in the Samadhi. So that is significant. He didn't ask any of his disciples, although they were there, and they were also there installing deities here and there, but he asked Narayan Maharaj to do it. So therefore he should be respected, always.
Jai.
Yes.
Also, Prabhuji, I've heard that Sri Narayan Maharaj, in his Nitya Brat Swarup, he's Raman Manjari. I've heard.
Yes. That has been revealed. Yes. Yes.
Sometimes, Prabhuji, we don't realize that how many great Vaishnavas we have been around, or our movement is blessed by such great Vaishnavas.
Yes.
So, such extraordinary personalities. So, it is just amazing, Prabhuji. Okay, so Prabhuji, you also mentioned about your relationship as a very good friend with Aindra Prabhu.
Yes.
Can you just share like a few more exchanges with Aindra Prabhu? Like, how was your relationship with him? Any exchanges, any dealings? Like, how was he also like?
Yeah, so I mean, Aindra Prabhu was very special devotee also. Very, very deep. Definitely spiritually advanced. So much attached to chanting the holy names, and also he had his personal deities, and he was very austere. He was following every year Chaturmas, very austere, eating only once. When he was in New York also, I saw with my own eyes, there's one vrat known as Chandrayan. So you're just eating once a day. Havishyan. Khichdi. And there's a way of doing that also, and you start on full moon day, Purnima Tithi, a good amount, and then you reduce a little bit every day. And also you have to put the prasadam on the floor. And you have your hands behind the back. And you go down and eat as much as you can. And you cannot go up. So it is extreme. I mean, he was doing this vrat, which was amazing, and so we understand his spiritual strength to do that. Of course, he must be physically healthy also, but more is the spiritual strength, otherwise you cannot do such a vrat. In New York, and then going still out almost every day for Sankirtan. And he was only eating once, and usually in the evening only. And he was doing his seva, his Thakurji seva. He had a small Gonitai, small Prabhupada Bhakti Siddhanta. And he was chanting more than 16 rounds, 32, and sometimes trying 64, and many times he was chanting 64 rounds, and then going out for kirtan. And then evening time coming back and taking prasadam. So extremely austere. So, but yeah, and so he also read, of course, Prabhupada's books a few times, and then he read also mostly of the Acharya's books. So he was very knowledgeable. And in the scriptures, in Prabhupada's books, he understood Prabhupada's mood and the Acharya's mood also. And so, at the same time, he was, of course, he was like an avadut, very eccentric. And so, that may be there. How he was sometimes dressed up, and he was following Chaturmas by not shaving also. And or what is the system also in some Gaudiya Math? Some they don't shave for 4 months, some they shave every month. On Purnima Tithi, some and during Chaturmas, on the first Purnima they shave, and then in the middle, Vishwarup Mahotsav. So when Prabhupada took sannyas, and then he was shaving that day, that time also. Of course, many devotees didn't like it, and sometimes there was some difficulty, and then, so, but what to do, but so he was very much absorbed, and just doing his seva, chanting the holy names, and serving the deities and helping the other devotees in their Krishna consciousness. And once he started to speak about Krishna, I mean, he could speak 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, which many times he did in his room, or even sometimes giving class. But sometimes then they let him give class for a few times, but he was always over time. Till 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock, sometimes giving class. So then they stopped him, now you cannot do that. So very special personality, but he was advanced, but some were saying a transcendental madman. Anyway, so I had a very nice relationship with him. And he had so much also Dham Nishta, faith in the Holy Dham. And for him, just staying in the Holy Dham, that was fine. And by preaching in the Dham also, chanting the holy names, you can benefit the whole world. And let the people come here. And so he was attracting many devotees. And then not only, but the guests from Delhi. And so then his evening kirtan was always so much attended from 6 to 7 in the evening before Gauratik. And festival time he was always chanting for many hours. Starting of the Abhishek at 10 o'clock till 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. So when everyone is going for prasad, he was just chanting. And then he was going upstairs doing his deity seva and then eating something little in the evening time. So very, very, very austere, but completely dedicated and no prajalpa, only Krishna Katha. So some symptoms of a great devotee. But still, because of his eccentric nature, some people didn't like him. I was speaking too much about Braj Bhakti. So what to say? Anyhow, so yeah. So we had nice.
Many times it happens, probably.
Yeah. Also, actually, he was. Yeah. I asked him after he gave me the seva. So after 2 years, I felt would be nice, because when I became head pujari, then sometimes I was dressing Krishna Balaram and Gonit time. So then I asked him to again dress the deities on Sunday, every Sunday. Then he was dressing. On festivals, I was dressing Radharani and he was dressing Shyam Sundar.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So amazing to hear, Prabhuji, and so relishing actually. You have like lots and lots of nectar to share. So I request you, Prabhuji, one thing that after having this discussion, I really want that we just go for another part of this, because we can just feel like to ask a lot of questions from you and get on so many different topics that are really important.
Fine, sure.
Okay, so Prabhuji would like to get,
Yes.
So Prabhuji would like to get into some philosophical questions. So Prabhuji, like Your Grace mentioned about reading, Adhyan is very important. And like you have read the Bhagavad Gita around 50 times and Srimad Bhagavatam around 10 or 12 times. But Prabhuji, in the current time, in the current scenario, the devotees or the youth devotees especially, they're not into the habit of reading. They're very much lazy about reading. I know devotees, they can go for kirtan or they can even hear lectures, but reading they are very much weak. So, but our movement, it has been, Prabhuji, of all the parampara, if we will see, there have been scholars, and even Srila Prabhupada mentioned many times that I want all my devotees, even once he mentioned I want all my disciples to be like advocates. So they quote from the scriptures, as they want them to be well versed in the scriptures. But in current generation devotees, they are not so much into reading, Prabhuji. So how can we just be good readers of the scriptures? How can we just read more in a more efficient way?
Well, you see, that you cannot force. And therefore Prabhupada also said, so he has given bhakti, but he wanted to introduce Varna Ashram Dharma. The main thing is to serve Krishna, is to chant the holy names, to serve the deities, but the Varna Ashram has to be there to some extent, because it's not that everyone can just be devotee and a pure Vaishnav, pure devotee. It's a gradual process. And again, the reading, you're right. And so not many devotees, they will be Brahmanically inclined. And that has to be recognized. And therefore you cannot force. But you encourage the devotees to read, but if they are not so much inclined, then what can you do? Let them hear, fine, no problem. Because the majority will not be Brahmanas. The majority will be like Vaishyas, or maybe Shudras also, have some Kshatriya nature. The Brahmanas are less, and you can see practically. And many times the devotees somehow they manage to do the IDC course, or maybe Bhakti Shastri, maybe, but only few. But therefore it is not mandatory for initiation. And even for second initiation now mostly they want, but not always, because not everyone. But somebody like, for example, the ladies, they may be good cooks. They may get also Brahmin initiated and then they can cook. So, but those who are really Brahmanas are less. And we can see that also. Even here we have many pujaris on the altar, they are second initiated. But maybe half of them, they are not so much inclined for reading or for maybe more chanting. You don't have to tell a Brahmana to chant more or to read more. He will do automatically. But others you may have to force, but it will not work. Let them do whatever they can, but therefore Varnashram is required actually. And for Gurukul also, Prabhupada wanted Gurukul, and then he wanted Varna Ashram college, because the primary education is there, but then you have to select. This one is a Brahmana, he should be engaged in Brahminical activities. This one is more like a, well, simple person, let him do some carpentry or something like this, and then somebody is inclined to do business, making money, then he will do that. And somebody is good in managing, so Varna Ashram college should be there for that purpose. So, but still then we don't identify with that and I am a Brahman and you become proud. No, we are still the servant of Krishna, but we engage in Brahminical activities. But these are less. And Prabhupada wanted the society of Brahmana, but at the same time you have to manage the temple also. And for that we need somebody with some managerial qualities. And you have to make money. And then you need somebody who's making business and who, you know. So for the temple also. And you need the cleaners also. So that is required. So therefore we cannot force the devotees to study. You encourage them, okay, study as much as possible, and you hear, and then you chant, and then you do whatever you can. So like that. So therefore Prabhupada wanted Varnashram to be introduced.
Yes. Prabhuji, like you mentioned that everyone will not be inclined towards the Brahmanical activities. Everyone has their own prarabdhas, or everyone has their own samskaras. So they will be, everyone has their own nature. So according to their nature, they will be inclined.
Yes.
So, but Prabhuji, even if many times devotees have the desire to read, but due to many of the shortcomings, they are not able to read much. So, Prabhuji, are there any tips like for those who are interested in Shastra Adhyan, so they can read more efficiently?
Read more efficiently. Well, of course, you have to be focused. And also, of course, chanting good Hare Krishna, and you have to be focused for that also. Try to chant nicely, and then be focused. And what you can do, you can take notes. That will be helpful. To be focused, to be attentive, and then naturally, then when you write it down, then it will stay more with you, and then you will feel more enthusiastic to read. So that may be one tip, is to make some notes of what is important. And then as you go on, you will find. I mean, I did that also. First time I read the Bhagavatam, I made so many notes. Second time I read the Bhagavatam, again I made notes, and I realized something more. Because you become purified, and then you have some more understanding, and then you learn more. Each time you read the scripture, you will learn more. So, of course, then, so the enthusiasm must be there. And that determination, nishta, you must have the strong determination. No, I have to read every day. That was my mood, and Prabhupada said every day we should read for 1 hour. So if you're Brahmanically inclined, yes, I have to read every day. And I was reading 2 hours a day. I was trying in the beginning. And then, but at one point I read so much, I thought, well, that's enough. Now I chant more. And then I remember, and then especially then when we preach or teach, then we remember what we read. And if you make notes, then that will come out. So then also, what is helpful, if you read something, and then you will tell others. And that is a Brahmana is learning and is teaching. That was the system in the Gurukul. The students, they go to school. In the Gurukul. They learn something, they teach the younger ones. And then it will stay with you. And they will become more enthusiastic. If you speak what you have read, what you have realized, then you will become enthusiastic more. You will get more knowledge. You will get realization by speaking. So that is the process. So so the enthusiasm has to be there, and the determination that I have to read every day. And then you can take some note that may help. Okay.
Okay. So, another point, Prabhuji, is I want to ask about the deity worship, actually.
Yes.
Because I have been the head pujari of the temple. So, majorly the question is coming from the Grahasthas, because in temple, the standard is already there. But when Grahastha devotees who just want to worship, because in the initial we have the Chitrapat.
Yes.
So, but now, if the devotees are inclined, they have a desire, because Prabhupada also said that all the Grahasthas should keep the deities at home.
Right.
So, so in the initial, Prabhuji, what is the process like, even if we want Gaurnitai deities? So, is like Brahman initiation mandatory for them? And even if we have the deities Gaurnitai or even Shalagrams or even Jagannath Ji, so like, what should be the standard at home? Like, can we get the deities by ourselves or taking the permission from our spiritual master, and we should be Brahman initiation? Like, what are the standards or what points to keep in mind and while to worship the deities at home?
Yeah. So that is a very big subject matter. And so I think it will take some time. I don't know how much time we have.
Okay, so we can
I
just
think-
cover this in the next part, probably.
Yeah, I think, we can have another session and then we can discuss more. Because it is such a broad and
Yeah.
important subject matter that we have to discuss more.
Yes.
Because
Okay. So
Panchamahatma
we'll just keep
Purnanga
this
there.
there.
Yeah. 5 most
Yes.
important limbs.
So-
One of them is deity worship. Yes.
Hmm.
But the other is an important point, and because many grihastas are there, they want to do some deity worship, and it is not possible to do like in the temple. So I can give some good advice and some guidance to the devotees, that is for sure. But for that we need a full session.
So for sure, we will have a separate session on the deity worship,
Yeah.
Prabhuji. Okay. So Prabhuji, one specific topic, which is in little, not a little, but we have a lot of difference of opinions on this particular topic, is the origin of Jiva.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
what is
yeah.
the origin of the Jiva? Yeah. So many times in general, in the initial time, we hear, Prabhuji, that we were initially in the Golok, in the spiritual world, but then we became envious of Krishna, and then we just came to this material world. But then when we become a little mature, hear a little more, or read a little more, so we just come to know that we are Nitya-Baddha Jivas. We are
Yes, yes.
another Bahirmukha.
Yes.
Yeah. So then many of the devotees are not having this clear understanding of the origin of Jiva. What is our identity? What is the Swarupa? Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you just clarify this a little bit, Prabhuji?
Of course, that is also a sensitive subject matter, and also it may take some time also to discuss in more detail. But in brief, you can see that Prabhupada has said both, that we fell from the spiritual world, but he has also mentioned that actually two kinds of jivas are there, and that is mentioned also, of course, by especially Bhaktivinoda Thakur in Jaiva Dharma and Dashamula Tattva, and the two kinds of jivas are there, and that is Mahaprabhu's opinion. That is clearly mentioned, and so which is also that we can discuss in more detail, and the Dashamula Tattva.
For sure.
And about the jiva, but basically there's the Nitya Siddha and Nitya Baddha. So Nitya Siddha is always serving Krishna since time immemorial, and he can never fall down. Rupa Goswami, Lalita Devi, they will never fall down, not possible. And Nitya Madhava means since time immemorial condition, but also the eternal servant of Krishna. But they are not yet in seva, they have not served Krishna. Because in the spiritual world there's no Maya. There's no Maya. There's envy, but transcendental envy. Like Chandravali's or Radharani, they become sometimes envious of each other. But that is spiritual. Krishna is in the center. There's no Maya there. Some exceptions are there of Jai Vijay, but that is the Lord's wish. So they came. So when Krishna is coming to these worlds, these associates are also coming with him. But otherwise, so the Nitya Bada, they are there in the spiritual sky, but they are not serving Krishna. But then when the material world is manifested, then they come to this world, and then by the mercy of the Lord or the pure devotee, they may understand their spiritual nature, and then they can engage in devotional service, and when they become perfect and siddha, then also they will never fall down again. Generally, so that is mentioned in the scriptures by the Acharyas, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and that is the understanding. But in ISKCON, so according to GVC also, that they have explained something which is not exactly like that, but that is also debated, and many devotees, they feel that it is not right because the Acharyas have mentioned otherwise, but it is still to be discussed more. But to me it is very clear.
Yeah, support.
But that also can be
sure.
But that can be discussed further also based on, of course, Jaiva Dharma. But even Prabhupada, you see, sometimes he gave different statements according to time, place, and circumstances. That we have to see.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so many things, like for
what
example.
I feel, Prabhuji, actually these are.
Yeah, just like for example.
Prabhuji?
So just like sometimes Prabhupada, he wrote like, or he said, Govinda Dasi, Govinda Prabhu, or there's also Yamuna Prabhu. But usually Prabhu, but sometimes he has mentioned. And now you can see, many times you can see the ladies addressing each other as Prabhu. Or Prabhu not always mention Prabhu to the ladies. Sometimes there must be a reason also that we have to understand. So some controversial things are there, and but therefore we have to see Guru, Sadhu, Shastra. We see what Prabhupada is saying, what the Acharyas are saying, and what the scriptures are saying. Prabhupada, Sadhu, and Shastra. Prabhupada is our Guru, and Sadhu and Shastra. And then we have to use also sometimes common sense, our intelligence, and then by bhajan also it will be revealed what is the actual fact. And then according to time, place, and circumstances, we have to see. So these are things to be discussed further, to be researched, but usually in India, so the elderly ladies, they are addressed as Mataji. Those who are younger, they are, they are like daughters. Putri, or we say Lali, in common society. But if you address a young girl as Mataji, I mean, in society in India, it is usually they will not very much appreciate. But Prabhupada mentioned, in some places, like to the brahmacharis, they used to go begging. Brahmacharis means small boys, and then everyone is Mataji for them. But if you're grown up and you say young girl Mataji, so it is sometimes in India they may, according to culture, so we have to see time, place, circumstances. So these are topics which are hot topics, sensitive topics, but according to Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra, we may present it.
Yes.
So these are some, and ultimately the main thing is that we chant Hare Krishna and we serve Krishna and we go back to Krishna. But it is not so easy. And we should go according to Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. And then, but we should be respectful and try not to fight over these things, which are secondary. We should be Saragrahi Vaishnava. What is the essence? And that is to serve Krishna. What is the Siddhanta of our society? Of the Gaudiya Vaishnava society, that we should know. So yes, so these are sensitive things, and so we have to, but we may discuss further on also in a humble way, respecting all the Vaishnavas with their different opinions, and not fight for that. But we may debate in a humble way. I'm quoting Shastra, and by realization you may understand. And like we know also nowadays, female Diksha Guru controversy is there, or it is not really controversy, but different opinions are there. And so different devotees have different opinions, so that can be discussed, and so we have to respect. But then we should go according to Guru, Sadhu and Shastra, and ultimately then, the senior devotees, they will decide what to do. But so, it is very careful to be discussed and to be in a mature way. So. And that may take many sessions too, and to come to conclusions sometimes is not so easy. And then, but sometimes we have to be involved, but sometimes we may just stay away, because after all we have to do our bhajan and we have to do our seva. But sometimes we may strengthen our mind, also our consciousness, if we are discussing these things according to Guru, Sadhu, Shastra, and keeping Prabhupada in the center. That is important. But at the same time, Guru, Sadhu, Shastra. And so when Prabhupada said something, so different places he says different things, then we have to reconcile as much as possible. And then be thoughtful why he has said in this place, and then what the Shastra says, the previous acharyas have said. And then also the tradition, Loka Vichar, where you are, you have to see also according to that, you have to act. Like when there is eclipse here in Vrindavan, all the temples close. And they don't do seva. Not only during the eclipse, but during the Sutak, contamination period. They don't do seva. But the Acharyas told we have to do seva. But because they are closing, therefore we are also closing. So you have to see these things. But we follow the instructions of the spiritual master. Okay, so, yeah.
Actually, what I feel is that these topics are actually to be discussed in detail.
Yes.
We can have a few sessions for it,
Yes.
like for specific sessions for each of these topics, like
Right.
the Jiva fall or the deity worship thing. So we can have specific sessions, Prabhuji.
Yes.
Okay, and actually we had like even more questions, but I will just take them in the next sessions, Prabhuji.
Yeah, that will be better.
So we'll just go towards our last round, that is the rapid fire round, Prabhuji. So I will just be asking you questions in which you can ask in one word, answer in one word or one sentence, Prabhuji, in brief.
Okay.
So this is the matchless gift rapid fire round with Grace Mukunda Datta, Prabhuji. Okay, so Prabhuji, your favorite prasadam item?
Favorite prasadam item? Well, salty or sweet?
Yeah. Anything, Prabhuji.
Anything. Favorite. Well, I like many items, but I like very much sweets. And in the sweets, I like sandesh.
Okay. So, Prabhuji, your favorite grantha? Favorite scripture?
Chaitanya Charitamrita.
Okay. And Prabhuji, your favorite holy dham?
Holy Dham? Well, Mayapur and Vrindavan.
Okay. Your favorite deities in entire ISKCON?
Radhachyama Sundar.
And Prabhuji, your favorite temple in entire ISKCON?
Krishna Balam Mandir.
Okay. Prabhuji, your favorite Vaishnav bhajan?
Favorite Vaishnav bhajan. Well, I like many Vaishnav songs. I used to chant many Vaishnav songs when I was dressing the deities also. But now, what to do? But ultimately, Sirupa Manjari Pada, Se Mora Sampada, Se Mor Bhajana Pujana. So, but when I was chanting bhajan, usually I was always chanting first bhajan in glorification of Guru, then in glorification of Gauranga, then in glorification of Krishna and Radharani. But because that is ultimately the essence what Prabhupada, Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada and our Prabhupada before leaving, just to make a point, then it is not just the external of the devotional service, but the internal cultivation has to be there. And then we want to go to the spiritual realm. For that, we have to take shelter first of Rupa Goswami and then Rupa Manjari. So therefore, I'm quoting that.
Yes. Okay. Prabhuji, your favorite Kirtanya in entire ISKCON, whose Kirtan you like the most?
Well, I approve.
Right. Favorite for most of the devotees, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Okay, so your Prabhuji, your favorite character from Srimad Bhagavatam?
Favorite character of Srimad Bhagavatam? Well, that is Srimati Radharani.
Jai. And Prabhuji, favorite character from Gaur Leela?
Well, that is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself.
Jai. Okay, Prabhuji, your favorite verse from the Bhagavad Gita?
Favorite verse from the Bhagavad Gita? Well, there are many verses which are nice, but but I think for preaching also Sarva Dharman Parijyajya Mamekam Saranam Braja Aham Tam Sarva Pabebhyo Mokshayasmi Masuchaha.
Okay. Okay. And Prabhuji, your favorite speakers or your Shravan Gurus from whom you have heard the Katha lectures the most, or whose Katha you like the most?
Of course, first I was listening, of course, Prabhupada's lectures, and that was always in the center. And I heard most of Prabhupada lectures, of course, maybe not all. And then, of course, I like Narayan Maharaj's lecture. And then in ISKCON, I very much like also Gaur Govinda Maharaj's lectures, and then Radha Govinda Maharaj's lectures, and also Rannath Maharaj's lectures. Is a few of the. Of course, Ainda Prabhu also was a good speaker. So a few favorite speakers are there also.
Okay. And Prabhuji, your favorite Acharya from the past, from the Purvacharyas, your favorite?
Rupa Goswami.
Right. Okay. And Prabhuji, your best friend in all the devotees?
My best friend was, of course, I would say, of course, ultimately the spiritual master is the best friend. But besides that, Ainda Prabhu, he was like my best friend.
Jai. Okay. This was it, Prabhuji, for today.
Okay.
Or for this particular section. So, thank you so much, Prabhuji, for sharing such nectarian and relishing memories, such relishing pastimes, such relishing. So, I was really into deep diving into all that, and I just feel really blessed to hear directly from your grace all this. And I just was realizing that just one session of like 1.5 hours is not enough with your grace. We have to keep multiple sessions on multiple topics, because you have so much nectar to share, so much realizations to share. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for giving your valuable time today. Prabhuji, in the end, would you like to give some message for the viewers and the devotees?
Yes. First of all, one verse is there, Mahaprabhu Trinadapi Sunichinatarapi Saishnana Amane Namane Nakirtani Sadahari. So that is one message, that we should always be humble, tolerant and respectful, and try to chant as much as possible the Mahamantra. And another one, so because we have to be focused, and so we have to take shelter of Guru Garanga and Radha Krishna. So there's one beautiful verse known amongst the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, which I feel the devotees can learn, and I recommend all the devotees usually to learn this mantra, especially the children also, which can be recited, which is easy to learn upon waking up and before sleeping, before the study, before the puja, before the exams. You can recite that verse and get the mercy of Guru Gauranga and Radha Krishna. Gurave Gaura Chandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tada Bhaktaya Namo Namaha. That is my favorite verse. because everyone is included. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for joining us today. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much for inviting me, and so I think it is important if we can discuss these things. So I'm glad to come again for that podcast. Hare
For
Krishna.
sure.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, for sure, Prabhuji.